saying this, were you able to see anything outside of the vehicle?
I saw nothing.
And what, if anything, when she's banging and kicking or banging on the door, what did Ms. Roberts?
Miss Roberts unlocked the door. Karen got out. Miss Roberts looked at me and said something like, she's crazy or she's batshit crazy, something like that.
And when the defendant gets out of the vehicle, where is it that she goes?
She just runs
And runs with?
straight to John.
And again, when she's running, at this point in time, can you see what she's running toward or where she's going or anything that she's talking about?
I was on the passenger side, so as I got out, she was already at John.
So she gets out and essentially makes a beeline over to where John was?
Correct.
And you're getting out of the passenger side, and by the time you come around the car, she's already there?
Yes.
And when she gets over there, what if anything could you see at that point?
She straddles John and she lifts up his shirt, and then she lifted up her shirt and went to lay on him. And Miss Roberts went over and she was removing the snow from his face.
Let me take a step back from that just for a moment. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish just a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 12. Okay. Now, Mr. McCabe, I'm going to direct your attention up to the screen and what's been marked as Exhibit 12, and I know this is not something that pertains to your vehicle or anything else. But what I'm going to ask you as it plays through is if what you observed in this video is consistent with what you observed during the drive through Fairview Road that way. Just going to be quick play. As this video is running, Mr. McCabe, if I could just ask, what you see in this video, is that consistent with sort of the lighting and the conditions weather-wise that you observed when Ms. Roberts was driving from Meadows Ave to Fairview Road?
Yes.
McCabe, you recognize whereabouts in the town of Canton this perspective-wise as far as what street or where it is, any landmarks that you observed in the video?
Yes, that is Cassie. We just passed Cassie's Corner Store, and that is Chapman Street.
Again, Ms. McCabe, do you recognize whereabouts in the town of Canton we are in this portion of the video?
Yes,
Where are
this is the top of Fairview.
we? So this will be from Chapman coming on to Fairview, is that correct?
Correct.
And prior to that, along that ride along Chapman, is that the period of time you're looking out the window and trying to see if you can see John on the side of the road?
Yes, but we didn't drive that way.
You came from the other direction?
Yes.
You would have been taking, instead of a right onto Fairview, you would have been taking a left onto Fairview?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could. Now, what's up on the screen and what you just observed as far as the drive down Fairview, is that fair and accurate material consistent with what you observed in Ms. Roberts was driving down that morning?
Yes.
And at this point in time, as you're coming sort of down the hill from Fairview, is this the point that the conversation occurs as far as Bella's mother and prior dating relationships and things like that?
A little bit more towards the top of the street.
So Bella's mother lives more closer to the top by Chapman?
Midway down, yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. The vehicle in the roadway there, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Miss Roberts.
Just for clarification purposes, with the laser pointer, if you could direct the jury's attention where you see this property.
Oops.
Now, the area where you observed Mr. O'Keefe, can you see that in this particular pause frame of the video?
Not in this frame, I cannot. It's not clear.
Tell me if you could. See that area now?
Yes.
Go ahead, using the laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention where. Ms. Gilman, if you could play this for.
Do we have a problem? Huh?
If you could, fast forward just about a minute. Right. Right. And then pause. Okay, do you recognize any of the individuals up on that screen?
Yes.
And if you could, with the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention. Who do you recognize and who do you recognize that?
Carrie Roberts, myself, Karen Reed.
Ms. McCabe, if I could just take you back to when you arrived there. You indicated Ms. Reed goes over to Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Roberts. What is it that you were doing at that time?
I got out of the car and I came around, and for a second or two, I completely just froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then Carrie and I made eye contact, and I called 911. And Carrie was asking me to go to the car and get, she was yelling to get towels or blankets or something out of the back of our car.
Is that why the back of the car is opened up in the video that we just saw in reference to Ms. Roberts' vehicle?
Yes.
Did she direct you sort of where to go within the vehicle to find the blankets or the towels, whatever it was?
Yes.
You called 911, you spoke to the operator and told them essentially where you were, correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as that initial, what you saw, that you froze and couldn't believe what you saw, can you describe to the jury what it was that you saw?
I saw Carrie wiping the snow off of John's face, and I could not believe that that was John laying there.
And how was John positioned, or how was his body positioned when you saw him?
He was just laying flat on his back.
And as far as the snow Ms. Roberts was wiping off his face, was there any other snow on his body at that time?
Yes.
If you know about how much?
There was enough that his body was covered in snow.
And could you tell at that point how far Mr. O'Keefe was from the roadway as far as Fairview Road was concerned?
I mean, I remember kind of a little ways in. I don't know exactly.
And so you make that call to 911, and what is sort of going on with respect to Ms. Roberts, the defendant, and Mr. O'Keefe while you're on that 911?
So I run the blankets over to Miss Roberts, and she's kind of lifts him up, put the blankets underneath him, and she's screaming at Miss Reed to get off of Mr. O'Keefe. And they're kind of yelling back and forth. Karen screaming, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" I, at some points, walk over towards the car, Carrie's car, to get away because they're so loud. And I was trying to be calm and get help there for John as fast as possible. Carrie starts yelling about doing CPR. She tells Karen to do mouth to mouth. Karen's yelling because as they start, blood starts coming out of John's mouth.
As far as the CPR, that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
So during this time, the defendant's yelling and you're on the phone with 911, correct?
Yes.
So you're trying to back up or distance yourself a little bit so that you can hear what's going on with the 911 operator and they can hear you.
Yes.
And after you complete that 911 call, what's going on at that point?
I go over, and at that point, Carrie asks if I can take over doing the compressions.
And did you do that?
I did, yes.
And at some point after you call 911, to either police or fire or someone responds and arrives on scene, is that correct?
Yes.
You know about how much time it was in between when you hung up with 911 and when the first responders start to arrive?
From when I hung up, maybe a few minutes. I'm not exactly sure.
And do you recall whether or not it was police or fire or who showed up first?
Police.
And is that the officer that was in that video or that cruiser that was just up on the screen as the last person?
I didn't see the officer in the video, but I know it was Officer Sarif was the first officer to arrive.
So then, After the officer arrives, what happened?
He was trying to figure out what had happened. Karen just ran around screaming, my name, Kerry's name. Is he dead? Is he dead? It was on repeat. Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? More officers started to arrive. The EMTs, they began to work on him.
And by him you mean Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Keefe's still on the ground, and they're working on him there, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see anything about sort of what they were doing or what was going on with that?
No, I just saw a bunch of them around Mr. O'Keefe.
And then what happened then?
More officers began to arrive. Miss Reed just continued to run around screaming. As more officers and EMT arrived, they asked what happened. One EMT asked, one EMT had asked, his name, his age, things like that. If she knew what happened, Miss Reed stated that she hit him. Besides running around saying, I hit him, did I hit him, could I have done this, is he dead, is he dead? At one point, one of the police officers put Miss Reed in the back of her cruiser, and he asked for myself to go over with her, and Kerry came over with us as well.
I'd like to just take you back to when the paramedic is asking for information, biographical information, things like that. You indicated that the defendant said, I hit him, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that something that she said once or more than once?
3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Now, before you had made reference to statements she made with sort of qualifiers or questions as far as could I have hit him or did I hit him? Is that what she said at that time when she was speaking to the paramedic?
No, she was earlier. It was could I, did I? When she spoke to the paramedic, it was crystal clear. I hit him.
Now, one of the officers takes her over to the back of her cruiser, is that right?
Yes.
And you were over in that area as well?
Yes.
Who, if anyone else, was over in that area?
Miss Roberts.
And while you were over in that area, what was going on over there?
We were in the back of the police cruiser. Karen was sitting in there. I kind of scooched myself in. Miss Roberts came over. Karen grabbed our hands. She asked us to pray. She looked at her hands and she had blood. She asked us if she could have gotten her period. We told her no, that was John's blood. Then she said, what if he's dead? Promise me you'll take care of the kids. Someone's going to take care of the kids. Then we prayed. Then at the end, they were moving John. And at that point, Karen told Kerry, go over, look, is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? Over and over. And Kerry said, I'll go over and check on him. And she was yelling, are they working on him? And then at that point, she grabbed my hands and she said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. And so I had my phone out and it was cold and my hands were frozen and I have MS, and I took my phone out while she was screaming and shaking my arm, and I attempted to Google how long does it take to die in the cold.
And when you conducted that search, that was at the defendant's request on scene sometime after 6 a.m. on that day, correct?
Yes.
You recall whether or not that came up as far as your search in Google? Is it something that you typed once or more than once? If you
I believe I did it multiple times because as I was typing it, I don't know what else was coming up. She was screaming. My hands were shaking.
And do you recall anything as far as what the search results were, or did you click on anything, or did you get an answer to the question the defendant had posed to you?
I don't even think I got an answer because as I kept Googling and she kept yelling and then they were moving John. And the next thing I knew, we were kind of moving because she wanted to see if they were working on him.
So you were moving along with the defendant over towards where Mr. O'Keefe had gone to the back of the ambulance?
Yes, we kind of just moved to see what was going on.
When you moved over, what did you see then?
They were just putting him in the back of the ambulance.
Now, after Mr. O'Keefe was put into the back of the ambulance, where did you go then? What did you do?
At that point, different police officers, I believe, were arriving and they were asking questions about what happened.
And did you speak to those officers?
I did, yes.
And at that point, did you know what happened?
No, to be honest, it was like I was there, but everything was just going on and I was completely just in a state of shock and disbelief.
And that sort of period there, how long did that go on?
So I talked to a few officers. We tried to just give them, he didn't come home. We went out looking for him, kind of just the brief overview. And then one of the police officers asked me to go into the house and to wake up my sister and my brother-in-law.
And at some point while you were outside, did you try to contact your sister and your brother-in-law?
I believe I called my sister, Nicole.
And when was that in relation to everything as far as medically that was going on with Mr. O'Keefe and all?
I think I might have called her right after I got off with 911 possibly. And then, she didn't answer. And that's when I was walking over, I believe, to John.
And she didn't answer the call when you called her initially?
No.
And you recall calling either your sister Nicole or your brother-in-law Brian Albert prior to going into the house?
I don't recall. I know I did call Nicole at one point. I'm not sure if I called Brian or not.
Regardless of if you called or you didn't call, do you recall having any sort of phone conversation with either Nicole or Brian Albert before you went in the house?
No.
So you at least called your sister Nicole, she didn't answer, and then one of the officers directed you to wake them up.
Yes.
Now, when you went up to the house at 34 Fairview, how did you get in?
The front door.
And front door was unlocked?
Yes.
Is that typical from your experience at that residence?
Yes.
And so you entered the house, and where did you go?
I went up the stairs to their bedroom.
And the bedroom door, when you arrived there, was it open or closed or something?
Closed.
And you opened it?
Yes.
And when you opened it, who, if anyone, did you see in the room, and what were they doing?
I saw my sister and Brian, and they were both asleep.
And you familiar with a dog that they have?
Yes.
What was the dog's name?
Chloe?
Was Chloe in the bedroom as well at that time?
I don't recall.
You come in, they're both sleeping, and what happened then?
I go over to the bed, and I'm calling out their names.
And how long were you calling out their names before you got any kind of response?
Brian responded first, and he was very, startled and looked at me like, what is going on? Nicole took a little, and, I think it took Nicole a little bit longer than Brian to wake up.
And what is it